Hopefully it helped clear my throat.
Hopefully it helps clear your throat. Nice hat. Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If this is your first time, I'm Elsie and this is
Tony.
Okay, Tony. Today we're talking about a very, very common concept in our society today. We're talking about cohabitation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, first of all, why do you think that cohabitation is so common these days? I mean, to be able to ask that, then I would have to ask, was it that common, like say some 50 years ago? Like,
No, absolutely not. Because there was a lot more, if you like, social and family pressure for people to be married.
yeah,
There was also this, it was in some circles considered a bit of a disgrace to not be married and still being cohabited.
to
So
live
you have
with
the
a man.
social,
Oh yeah,
the societal pressure, definitely.
yeah,
And then, for a number of reasons, no particular order, the fact when they see the changes in society, people being less religious in terms of thinking of marriage
yeah.
as a necessity, increased freedom of behaviour,
Yeah.
and people feeling, well, why do we really need to do that if it's just a piece of paper? And of course, another reason, though, I think which is more profound, is a feeling of worry about, well, am I ready? Do I want to commit myself, really commit myself? Because if I'm just living with somebody,
Yeah.
well, I can just, walk away at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has that sort of advantage to it, you
It
know?
does, yeah.
And I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, well, I'm going to stay with you for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how I'll feel in 10 years' time from now.
Yeah.
And of course, seeing the rising divorce rate amongst people who have got
That
married.
is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think, do I really want to put myself through all that? And finish up having a fight over possessions and over children and over
Yeah.
everything else?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, all the reasons as to why people are cohabiting that you've given now, they're quite valid when
Oh,
you when
yes.
you think about it, and especially because of some of the things you said, the divorce rates are so high these days, and people just do not want to commit to something that they do not think would last a lifetime.
Sure.
And especially because if it's like, if you try to leave, the whole process can be daunting,
Yeah.
especially when kids are involved. But again, shouldn't that, I don't know, because what is the difference? What would you say is the difference between cohabiting and then being married? Because when you're married, you're still living together with a person, and then you're still doing all the other things.
Yeah, sure.
So what do you think is the difference between cohabiting and getting married?
Well, being...
where do we cross the line, and why don't people want to cross that line?
Partly because we're scared of long-term commitments.
Yeah.
But the other thing, of course, is when people do get married, yes, there's a chance of failure. Unfortunately, the marriage failure rate nowadays is around 40% and rising.
Yeah,
And
that's
certainly
really
in
high.
most Western economies,
Yeah.
that's the situation. However, the people who cohabit, the failure rate is even worse, unfortunately. So marriage, statistically, is still a safer outcome if you were looking for a really stable, long-lasting union. Okay. That's not necessarily the best and only reason to get married, but,
Yeah.
For what it's worth, the odds definitely move in your favour when you're married. And making a sort of what you should feel to be an irrevocable public commitment to the other person
Yeah.
is something which can actually give you strength when, if you really honour that commitment during the bad times which come, when
Yeah.
you feel I can't speak to the other person or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've got well, hang on, I'm not really committed to this person.
Mhm.
I'm free. I could leave this afternoon if I wanted to. Well, yeah, I don't need to sign anything. I won't take anything out of the house that belongs to my cohabitee, and or cohabitor, and I'll just take my stuff and go.
I mean, isn't that the exact reason why the breakdown of cohabiting couples is a lot higher? Because then, it's
Yeah.
easier to leave.
This is true, and it's a human thing. If there's, how should you say, if there's any kind of struggle, whether it's in marriage or a relationship, or just think, you're walking down a totally different scenario. You're walking down the street, 3 or 4 people approach you, you sense danger.
Yeah.
Now, unless you are mad or extremely confident in your own powers,
Yeah.
you would choose to run rather than try and fight.
Fact, yeah.
Why would you run? Because there's a possibility of. However, now all of a sudden, if there was no possibility to run, you're in a dead end, your back is to the wall, those same people approaching you. So running, unfortunately, is not an option.
No.
Now you literally might be in a situation you fight or you die. Now, you give it your best shot because you want to live.
Yeah.
And this, to some extent, is one of the practical benefits, if you like, or the reasons why marriages last, because when you feel you're in this situation, there is no way to run. Well, hang on, why are we going to spend the rest of our lives in misery, sniping at each other, regretting our decision? Come on, let's
work it out.
Yeah, we're not stupid people.
Yeah.
We did have lovely feelings for each other once, apart from all the hormones. Let's work it out. Why not? In fact, we actually promised to do this. Yeah. And we didn't understand what for better, for worse.
But now
meant
when
at the
you're
time.
faced with
now
the
we
worst,
understand. Yeah, okay, this
not
is the
your
worst. Well,
fault.
okay, we promised. Well, that's fine. We can look at this. But it's true. Whenever there's an escape route, it's quite natural that human beings will take it because that's what escape routes are for.
Yeah.
Yeah, emergency escape. But if you really want to win in anything, block off your escape route.
Yeah.
And then you have to do the best. It'll call out the best in you. That's my thought.
Well,
But-
how do you think that society has contributed to people not being too attracted to the concept of marriage anymore?
Mm.
Because I feel like people didn't just wake up one day and then decide marriage is not worth it. I feel like it was like a societal process where a lot of things have caused people not to feel like marriage is worth it anymore. What do you think how do you think society in itself has contributed to young people especially thinking that it's a way better option to act married
Right.
but not actually being committed to the marriage? If you
Right.
get what I
Well,
mean.
you know what I'm going to do with this? I'm not being evasive, but I'm going to throw that question right back to you as a young person. No, I'm ready. I want you to address that.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Why people,
Oh, yeah. As a
Well-
young person.
as a young person,
She's the young one here.
she's comparatively, but like,
Just half a century. I mean, half a century difference, not that she's half a century. Mind she'd be a damn good looking 50.
but when I thinking about it, there are quite a number of reasons why the whole marriage thing is not too attractive anymore. First of all, the divorce rates these days, especially when you've seen, have you ever seen a couple when they were dating?
Mm.
So basically, you were there when they were in their
All loved up.
all loved up phase, and everything seemed very good and joyful and happy, and looked like it would turn out well. And then they get married, and you're there through all these stages of this couple's life. So they're dating, everything seems good. They get married. 2 years, it's you start to wonder did the person just change?
Mm.
So it's a little bit scary
Yeah.
because it's kind of Is it that you never know what you're going in for?
Mhm.
Because these people seem so sure. I mean, you have to be a damn bit sure if you spend all this money throwing a party and then standing. Weddings are so expensive these
I
days,
know.
and to actually decide that, oh yeah, I'm going to do life with this person, right? Then stand in front of 100 of your family members
Yeah,
and 100 of his family members
yeah.
and before God, and then say, oh, I'm going to be by your side in, like, whether good or bad,
That's right.
till death do us part, right?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that 2 years is quite a short time to forget about a promise like that,
Well,
you know? So it's like, sometimes you think, what could possibly be the reason why people are so good together and then make this kind of promise and then it comes down to shambles as soon as they get married? I feel like this is like, you know, these are the kind of thoughts that run through young people's minds. And
Sure.
it's kind of like, when you've shared your life with someone, even for 2 years, and then you have to now separate. I feel like it's a very nasty process, and like it breaks you
It leaves
emotionally
scars, undoubtedly.
and
Yeah.
mentally. And now when you think about that, you're like, well, if there's a way to show my love to someone and still be able to share myself with a person without all the other baggage,
Right.
like you say, you can just wake up one afternoon and say, I'm not doing this anymore, and it's fine because, you know, you're not married. I
Yeah.
feel like, well, that is one of the things. And secondly, not that I'm that old, but I think we're not very traditional anymore. Like, we do not give importance to certain things anymore, and not to be gender specific or anything, but then have you seen the men that we have to deal with in this generation?
I love that disclaimer, not to be gender specific, but yeah, okay, well, and it's true. There's, as we've often heard, a lack of genuine male role models.
Yeah.
We hear plenty about toxic masculinity, and there's a bit of that about, sure.
Yeah.
But men, in terms of being encouraged to be men, not just in the terms of being macho and physically violent or anything like that. But
that's such a good point. Yeah.
But having said that, you see, one of the reasons why sort of men, if you like, resist some of the sort of the gentling aspects of things. You see, I don't want to be made soft. I want to retain my sort of masculinity.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, they need to know that you can have your masculinity and your toughness, if you like, in that sense, all the sort of, but at the same time, that you've got tenderness, you're in touch with your emotions, you can relate and empathize to somebody else. Because there's also that side in men as well, that deep down they do want to be protective and caring for a woman as well. Unfortunately, society also sort of steers them away from these kind of things by saying you can have it all, you know. No one can deny you when you want to have sex, you know. It's a right that you have, you know. And I think it's you know, of course, no one's going to deny in terms of the importance of sex or the pleasure that sex can give, but I do feel that it's been given an undue priority.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, I haven't thought of it that way before, but now that you mention it, yeah, because like people make it seem like this thing that we cannot live without.
Yeah.
Like,
and as I say quite honestly, in the whole of human history, there is not a single, and people can Google this, there is not a single case recorded anywhere of anyone dying from lack of sex. They might feel as though they're going to. There are plenty of cases where people have died from having sex, either with a heart attack, what a way to go,
or an STD,
or when in a situation where a husband has come home unexpectedly, for example. But so yeah, those might be dying after, but certainly not dying for lack of.
Yeah.
And yet, as
Oh
you,
God, yeah.
yeah, it's
I
true.
have never thought of it that way.
And
But,
you know, no, it's some of the things which are vital and important in life, but they don't need to be put into that position where everything else is comparatively unimportant.
yeah,
And you've heard of the sort of the number of what we call incels, you see, the people who are involuntarily celibate, and how frustrated and miserable they feel because they maybe haven't got the social graces to attract women. And this,
Yeah.
by the way, it's usually men. This,
that suffer this.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they feel so angry and rejected, and many of them, unfortunately, finish up doing drastic, horrible things like some of these mass shootings and things like that,
yeah,
because they just want to punish the world around them, which is not giving them what they perceive they're entitled to, because all the others are getting plenty, and not me. Nobody will have me. Well, I'll show you, you know. And this, I know it's horrible and sick and warped,
it is.
but obviously you have to be. There has to be something horrible and sick and warped, but wanting to go and sort of shoot 20 people at a school who've never done anything to you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm saying they've never done anything to you, but may well be that of those, a few people have knocked somebody back for a date when they've asked. They've then knocked their confidence down.
Yeah,
The others, the more popular, the more athletic, have mocked them, laughed at them.
yeah,
And yeah, okay.
yeah,
So so we, you know, maybe if we were kinder to people
who were,
rather than
yeah,
not, yeah, and not this focus that our value as human beings is going to be assessed so much on the basis of sex, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, back to cohabiting. I'm sure that if there were couples watching this program that were cohabiting, they probably want to hear what is in it for them. Like, what difference does it make, really? If, as people would say, it's just a piece of paper.
It's a piece of paper.
Right? So if I'm committed to this person
Sure.
and loving the person to the best of my ability and
Right.
caring for the person and, you know, and living together, sharing the bills, taking care of each other, what's the catch?
What's a bit of
really?
paper? What's a bit of paper
What's the
gonna
catch?
do? Okay.
So yeah,
Well, obviously, for many societies, and you know, speaking from my own view as well, marriage has a lot more importance than the piece of paper, basically, which confirms it takes place, or it
yeah,
has taken place, rather in the way that a birth certificate for a child, the birth certificate is a piece of paper, but the reality is the child has been born. The piece of paper just records the fact that on a particular date this child was there. Okay.
yeah,
So the piece of paper does not have more importance than the child at all. The child is the reality.
yeah,
So the piece of paper for the marriage, in that sense, records the facts. And I do believe marriage has far more importance than the bit of paper. Sure.
okay,
But, funny enough, even taking it as the bit of paper, but it's a contract, well, pieces of paper are used all the time for buying a motor car, for doing this, for signing a lease, for and somewhere along the line, they do provide some protection to both parties because the agreement is set out there. Whereas, I never said that. I never meant that.
yeah.
It's
I never
easier
bought
to-
this
yeah.
car from you.
And sometimes, and the bit of paper, if you intend to stay together through, and unless you're a complete idiot or rose-tinted specs, we're never going to fight, we're never going to fall out. Okay.
People maybe they don't say it, but I feel like people actually go into
Well, I
marriage
know
with this kind
this is
of
the trouble. They
mindset.
have that. So if you really feel that, well, actually, in fact, you shouldn't have any worries about making the commitment to matrimony if that's really how you feel. But no, seriously, if you've got that feeling, if you've got a kind of a well balanced view, we might have problems. Okay. Well, the best reason for not being married then is it's less complicated to break up.
Yeah.
And yes, that's true. And economically, there are sound reasons for cohabiting, but as opposed to living separately, it's cheaper to live together. Sure,
It is,
and
yeah.
it can be more pleasurable as well. And if you feel I can walk out anytime I want, well, I'm not tied by anything.
There's so many upsides
Yeah.
to it.
Sure. But of course, the downsides is that, we're not,
Fully committed.
well, we're not fully committed in the sense that we hold that little bit back. And that little bit back that we're holding back might make the difference when on a finely balanced situation. Then yes, a few grams, just think of something on a scale.
Yeah.
A few grams, which we normally never notice, makes a difference one way or the other.
Yeah.
That little bit we hold back. Someone running a race.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put the 98% in or 99% in. They need that 1%. It's very important now to get across that line.
The line, yeah.
So yeah, that's where that can be helpful. But of course, one of the biggest reasons, really, to have perhaps as much stability as possible is children, because children very often come in cohabiting unions as well as married unions.
Oh, the Gen Zs are going to come for you with this one.
And yeah, what's going to happen? And having to explain to the children, well, that daddy doesn't love mummy anymore, or mummy doesn't love daddy anymore, or daddy's been a bad boy, or whatever.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, children do accept this. They understand, increasingly they understand it because they see so much of it on media.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as having the security of my mum's my mum, my dad's my dad, and whatever. Yes, they have their ups and downs, but they love me and I love them. And that's a basis for my growth, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of motivational speakers these days would say, it doesn't matter that kids are involved. Just do what makes you happy. I feel like that's very selfish.
It absolutely is.
I mean, unless obviously there are cases of abuse.
Oh, sure.
Then with that one, yeah. But I feel like it's a bit like we're becoming more and more selfish without even realizing it. Because it's like you went and said, oh, I'm going to make myself a part of this man. And then the man said, oh, we're going to become one. And we're going to live our lives together for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And then one day you wake up and you say, yeah, your happiness is more important than both of your, the progress of the marriage. I feel like that is being promoted so much these days.
Of course.
Do whatever makes you happy. And I get that some people unfortunately do not get the kind of support that they would like from their partners to promote their growth and to do the kind of things that will make them feel fulfilled.
Right.
Which is unfortunate. But then again, you made that decision.
Well, yeah.
Which is why you should be careful the kind of person that you make that decision with, even though as humans you never know because people change.
Well, it's true. A couple of a little while ago in this talk you said, how do you tell if that person is going to sort of have this commitment as they go forward?
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, as you said, nothing is 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
But you put in the odds in your favour by matrimony, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's another thing you put the odds in your favour definitely by before. What are the person's values? Now, really, because if you, I'm quoting that line from Shakespeare again, I would not love you, dear, so much if I loved not honour more. Now, take honour for being a combination, if you like, of honesty, faithfulness, love, compassion, caring, honesty, forgiveness. If a person respects and has those qualities in their lives and in their hearts, now you've definitely put the odds dramatically in your favour.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're good looking or whatever else other physical attributes they may have is wonderful.
Yeah.
But those
just a bonus.
Those are the important ones that I mentioned.
Yeah.
If they've got those, if they haven't got those, or they don't consider them to be sufficiently important, then don't be too surprised in life, unfortunately, whether they aren't showing any of them. They've never developed them.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's such an, I don't know, but it's such an important point, because like a person's beliefs and character, it's more like it's like when you take a building and then the foundation of that building
Yeah.
is basically like, if everything else shakes, then that's what's holding the building.
Yeah.
So it's like when you like when you say that, what are the person's values?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we take it for granted, because like when you're in the dating stage
Yeah.
and then you ask a person's opinion on something, and then the person gives an answer, and you know that you're not satisfied with that answer, but then you just assume that one day he's going to think different, or because he loves you so much,
Yeah.
he's just going to compromise. But no, I know. But values, they're so strong. They have such a strong hold on our lives.
Yes.
That if someone doesn't believe in something, it's so difficult to try and make the person
to come
behave
yeah.
like opposites to what the person
Sure.
to what the person believes in. It's like one time I was listening to someone who said, if you're a very ambitious person, and then in the dating stage you realize that the person, like when you say something you're very passionate about, and then the person just beats it down, it can even be jokingly, right? Don't take it for granted, because don't think that one day when you get married it's going to be any different. It's not, because the person doesn't believe, for instance, that a woman should be ambitious. Why do you think that just because he got married, all of a sudden he's going to start believing that a woman should be ambitious? You know?
Well, it's true.
So I feel like you say, like that was such a very it was such a very important point, that you should know what the person's values are.
It's like knowing what as you've been given a new sort of digital sort of whatever. See what software's running. Yeah. It's not just a case of looking at the hardware outside. See what the software. Because that's maybe a thing. There's too much emphasis on the hardware, and no pun intended. But maybe not enough on the software or on the operating system. Now I know I'm speaking out of my generation with those kind of terms, but I think it's not a bad comparison.
No, it's not. So I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation as well, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed the conversation. We've come to the end. Do you have any last words?
Well, just what you said before. Do you have anything to say to people who are cohabiting, and any message as to whether they should stay as they are or seek to get married? Maybe to actually look at their relationship and ask themselves if they are truly committed, and what it would mean to them to actually to celebrate this committal, because that's what marriage is as well. I mean, there should be a celebration, it's a party, why not? And it should have all these bits in it: the celebration of people being together, commitment, but the celebration of commitment, funny enough. And this is the thing which people back off from. And yet the commitment can give you strength when you need it. You do whatever you have to do because you're committed. Whether it's the Olympic athlete in training who does not feel like getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go running on the road, but they do it because they want that. Or the mother who gets up to tend a child in the night, not because she wants to, because she gets it. Oh, this is great! Isn't this real fun? But she wants to. Yeah, she's committed, and that's the thing. And the commitment helps us stay on course when we feel like leaving for anything. And that's and ultimately, we shouldn't commit ourselves to something that we're not happy to commit ourselves to. But if we do, then we have that strength, if you like. Which doesn't come if we say, no, well, I'm not going to make this commitment. We're almost setting ourselves up to fail before we start,
So we've come to the end of.
We definitely have come to the
We
end now.
definitely have come to the end of our program.
Yeah.
If you've watched to this point, I'm guessing that you're enjoying the program. So kindly like, comment, subscribe.
And share.
And until next time, it's bye for now.
Bye.
If you like this video, kindly like, comment, and subscribe. You can also find us on other social media platforms, on Twitter at Talk with Tony and on Instagram at talkwithtony.live. Don't forget, live, laugh, and most importantly, love. Watch out for the next video. It's bye for now.